Welcome back to Book Break. The theme of today's video is going to be books within books. This is such a fun concept in books that so many of us grew up with, books that followed this format, everything from The Never-Ending Story to 1001 Nights. Books within books is a really fun form of storytelling. And I wanted to make this video right now because Trust by Hernan Diaz has just been announced to be on the Booker Prize long list, so the time to read it is now, and this is a book within a book. So the book within the book here is called Bonds, a fictional 1938 novel that everyone within the world of the book Trust has read. So the novel Bonds is about a New York wealthy couple, Benjamin and Helen Rask, who have risen to the top of wealthy 1920s New York society, but their incredible wealth has come at a cost. However, that novel is just one version of the story. And so the book Trust is all about the different layers of truth that make up someone's full story. So in here, you might start off reading the fictional novel Bonds, but you then also get to peel back layers and you read an autobiography, a memoir, a journal, each telling slightly different versions of the truth and helping you get closer and closer to understanding these characters. And when it comes to books within books, this is one of the most literal versions of that, which I love. So right from the beginning, you have the title page of our novel, Trust, and then you come across a whole new title page, Bonds, a novel by Harold Vanner. So this is literally a novel within a novel. So I was very excited to tell you about Trust. That also reminded me of a similar book with a similar title, Trust Exercise by Susan Choi. So part one of Trust Exercise introduces these teenagers who all go to this elite performing arts school and a visiting teacher who is displaying predatory behaviour. So part one already goes to a dark place. Then part two reveals that part one was in fact a novel written by one of the characters from that story, and that the real version is even darker than it seemed. And this then keeps happening. You get different layers of truth peeled back. And actually in that book, you feel like you're getting further and further from the truth each time as these characters have such different conflicting accounts of what happened. And then the third book that I felt really fit with that theme of uncovering the different layers of truth is Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. This is a novel about a historical pilot, a sort of Amelia Earhart figure, and you get to hear her story and you get to read her diary, her account of trying to fly around the world. You then also get to read the book based on her life, and then you also get to see the making of the film based on the book, based on her life. So again, it's really about these different layers of building up someone's story and how to discover the truth of someone beneath all of that. Then a very different kind of book within a book is Mr. Fox by Helen Oyeyemi. This one has multiple stories within the book. The characters that we keep coming back to are Mr. Fox, who is a celebrated novelist with writer's block, and Mary Fox, this time Fox with an E, who is his muse, and he made her up. These two characters get into this kind of competition. She challenges him on his writing, and they end up writing different short stories, and so you keep going into the different stories and then popping back to meet these characters and trying to work out who is writing which story, and it's this sort of very meta conversation about the art of story writing and multiple stories within this book, all slightly retelling similar themes. I say this about a lot of Helen Oyeyemi's work, but honestly I feel like her books are books that just beg to be reread because you are going to discover something new each time. I did a whole video talking about Helen Oyeyemi and her whole backlist, so I will link to that below if you want to hear more about her many very interesting, very weird and wonderful books. And then again, bouncing to something completely different, Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell is a great example of a book within a book because this book was so successful that Rainbow Rowell actually ended up writing the book within a book. Let me explain. Fangirl is about a uni student called Kath who has just started college. She's not really enjoying it. She's an introvert. She doesn't know how to join in with a lot of student culture. She's really missing her twin sister who is more of an extrovert. And the thing that brings her the most joy is writing fan fiction. So she has been writing fan fiction about this character called Simon Snow from a fictional 8-book series. And throughout the book, you get to read little extracts of these books about Simon Snow. Where the story then gets even more fun is that Rainbow Rowell then decided to actually write those books about Simon Snow, and they became arguably her most popular books. Carry On, Wayward Son, and Anywhere the Wind Blows, which are all about Simon Snow, this wizard, and his roommate, enemies to lovers boyfriend, Baz, who is a vampire. So this is a case of a book within a book that then turned into its own book. I don't know if that has ever happened before or since, let me know. The only kind of similar thing I can think of is in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. In the comic book version, one of the characters is a researcher for the book, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which obviously actually exists, but that one already existed before, so it's sort of the other way around. Another way of interpreting the concept of a book within a book is when the book becomes a character. So you see that in The Book of Form and Emptiness by Ruth Ozeki, which is the winner of this year's Women's Prize. In this one, the book is actually narrated by the book, and the book ends up getting into these arguments with the main character about how the story should be told. It's a very, very interesting concept, and you see something similar in Christy Mowry's own double entry by B.S. Johnson, in which the protagonist and the book argue about the flow of the story. That book as a whole is very meta. There are characters within the book that know that they are works of fiction and they talk about being in a book. It's very interesting, it's a lot of fun. The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa was a big BookTube favourite a few years ago, so I'm sure a lot of you remember the buzz around that one. It's a very unusual book about a world in which memories of certain things can just vanish completely overnight, and anyone who is left still remembering them is then vulnerable to arrest. So you have to pretend not to remember these things even if you do. The main character in that book is a writer, and so you do get to read extracts from her novel that she's working on, and the novel sort of reflects some of what's going on in real life. Then there's The Man in the High Castle by Philip K. Dick. That is a very famous book which imagines an alternative history in which the Nazis won World War II, and so it's a totally different vision of how the world could have turned out. But there's an extra twist, which is that one of the characters in this book is an author who has written a book imagining an alternative history in which the Nazis didn't win. And what would that world be like? Try and get your head around that one. Finally, there is also a certain very famous classic book where certain parts of the novel are revealed to have been a book within a book, but it is a spoiler to tell you that, so I'm not going to tell you the name of the book. But if you think you know which book I'm talking about, it is a very classic book. It does have a film adaptation. Then leave a wink emoji in the comments below so I know you know which one I mean. And there are so many more amazing books like this which use the idea of a book within a book in really fun ways. I haven't even got started on some of the most bizarre books like House of Leaves, like S by J.J. Abrams. I've mentioned both of those books before in a video I did on bizarre books. Books if you're looking for something a bit different. So I will link to that video here so you can click through and have a watch. In the meantime, let me know in the comments below your favourite books within books. And I'll see you next time.